Texas football hopes to right the ship and get some revenge against Iowa State. The first college football rankings drop, and Chris Beard at Texas tips off all of this coming up on Texas Countdown. Welcome to Texas Countdown. I'm Olivia Guzman, joined by Cecilia Rodriguez, Harrison Chiu, and Edly Tillerman. How's it going, y'all?
It's going pretty good.
Yeah? Everyone ready to get rolling into the show?
Mm-hmm.
How you feeling?
Feeling good.
Feeling good?
Yeah.
Feeling good.
Y'all got some hot takes and ready to discuss?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay. Well, here we go. To say it was a rough October for the Longhorns would be a vast understatement as they continue to blow double-digit leads in the fourth quarter. Unfortunately, some of this blame does have to go on the coaching staff when the same pattern keeps happening. Sark came in with lots of hype, and with the all gas, no brakes, is it time to pump the brakes on him? Cecilia?
Not right now. At this time, we know that Sark came in because he's an offensive genius. We've seen what he's done at Alabama. And I can't defend his play calling in the last 3 games. Horrible is an understatement for that. But I can say that he didn't recruit his players. Obviously, he's coming into a program that he had to rebuild, and that's not an easy task. But Texas fans can't expect a national championship within season 1. Nick Saban went 7-6 at Alabama his first season, so obviously it's not something done really fast. As long as Sarkisian does well, wins out this season, and I think he's perfectly fine at head coach right now.
I agree. He's got a rough path to get there to win out, but you know, nothing's impossible. Harrison?
I totally agree. Coach Sark, he is coming into a program that has had 2 other coaching staffs previous. Like, his players have had so many different offensive and defensive coordinators. Rome was not built in a day. You have to give Coach Sark time. He is an offensive genius, just like you said, Cecilia. And I think once he gets his recruits, once he gets his players, he'll be just fine.
I agree. Rome was not built in a day.
No,
Edly?
I mean, I have to agree with them also, but I feel like, yet again, you can't just walk into a new team and he's going to be like a wizard and make everything great again. It takes time. So Texas fans, I feel like we give him about 3 seasons.
Okay. He's got 3 seasons. Everyone heard it here. Sark has 3 seasons, and then he's gone. Okay. Now, as we stated earlier, with the fourth quarter leads being blown, it is clear that Texas confidence took a toll. At this point, how do we think they need to rebuild? Edly?
Well, they need confidence. You can see there's a pattern. First quarter, second quarter, third quarter, they're like explosive, fireworks all over the place. And then once they get into the fourth quarter, they stop. It's like they're second guessing all the time. So they just need confidence. I feel like the confidence is just not there.
I agree. First 3 quarters, all gas, no brakes. Fourth quarter, all brakes, no gas.
No, I totally agree. The problem is our second half team, we don't have confidence. We don't have the mental fortitude to finish games. How can they rebuild? They have to trust each other. They have to play together. And honestly, the whole Joshua Moore drama right now with Coach Sark fighting is not good for the team at all. But in the second half, the defense gets tired eventually when the offense cannot stay out on the field. They cannot convert on third downs. And so look for Casey Thompson and Bijan to establish early downs so they're not behind the chains, so they can play more free and have a full playbook.
I agree. There is something to be said about how quickly a defense can get tired. Cece?
Yep. I think they need to get out of their heads. It's a mental battle right now, and honestly, their self-confidence has really taken a toll at this point in the season. And they need to really learn how to persevere through the second half. Even if you're going into halftime and going to the locker room up 28-0, you need to find a way to stay strong in that second half. And I think that's where they've had the problem. Like you said, if offense isn't converting on the field, how do you expect the defense to stay all the way to the last second in the fourth quarter? It's just not possible. I think what we really need to do is 2-minute drills in practice where your body is in full fatigue and you are conditioning your body to play for that win at the end of the game. So, yeah.
Someone get her out in practice.
Right.
She's got plans. She's got drills. 2-minute drills, people. After earning his starting position, Casey Thompson has played well, tossing 17 touchdowns this season, but Longhorn fans still seem to want more. What does he need to do to raise his game? Harrison?
Casey Thompson has played well ever since the Arkansas game where he was thrown in there late. But one thing you can say about the Longhorns in general, Sam Ehlinger, for the 4 years that he was a part of the team, you always knew the Longhorns had a chance. Whether that was his mentality, his physical traits, or just like putting his body on the line, Texas fans always could expect a fighter's chance. That's what I hope, or that's what at least the Texas fan base thinks and wants out of Casey Thompson, is for him to be smart, to make smart decisions, and to have ball security and also have a willingness to put your body on the line. Like run, I think Casey Thompson should run more, and it'll prove later in the season that it's a new element to the offense.
Cece?
Well, I think Casey Thompson's a great quarterback, and he's shown glimpses of what he can be throughout this season. As we saw at the beginning of the season, the way he played, especially in that Texas Tech game, I think he did great in that game. But I also think that his leadership isn't there at this point in the season. Like Harrison said, with Sam Ehlinger, you knew that it was going to be a fight. He wasn't just going to give up this game, and he wasn't going to let his team give up that game. Even if it meant they were down by 20 points in that last quarter, he was not going to give up till the game was over. And I think that's what Texas really needs right now in a leader.
Edly?
Quarterbacks are just natural born leaders. Like, you have to be a leader you have to be a quarterback and be a leader at the same time. Not only for the offense, but for the whole team. I feel like he should give pep talks to the team before the games, during halftime, and after the games, even if they lose. Just like give them more confidence, because as a quarterback, you set the tone of the team. So if the tone is not there, then there's no fire into the team. That's all I believe.
I agree. I think Casey has a very calm tone, which sometimes can come across as laissez-faire to a fan base. So
Yeah.
he needs to, get a little angry. Yell a little bit. It's okay. So Texas is playing Iowa State this weekend, and coming into this season, quarterback Brock Purdy fans hoped he would pop, but he hasn't been posting good, and with not great stats, what does he have to do to make it to the next level?
Well, Brock Purdy started as a great player in his first few seasons in his career at Iowa State, seen as a savior for the Iowa State fan base. However, in this year, it's kind of been surprising to see the way he's played. It just hasn't been his greatest season. You know that he went 2-1 versus Texas, so you know he's out there and he can create a great offense, and he's helped create a great offense there in Ames. But with his poor playing this year, unless he is making great plays and playing outstanding and winning out this season, I do think he will go undrafted, and if for some reason he does get drafted late in the draft, it's not going to be a notable career in the NFL.
Fair enough. Cece?
I agree. Like, I feel like he's in that senior slump. And so you can tell freshman year, sophomore, junior, amazing. And then when he gets to his senior year, it's a slump. And a lot of quarterbacks have that in college. It's just these last few games, he needs to prove himself. If he doesn't, he might go last round or undrafted.
He needs to fight a little bit more.
Yeah.
Harrison?
You root for guys like Brock Purdy. He's an incredible leader on and off the field, but much like Sam Ehlinger, I see him being a late round draft pick. 2 years ago, he had wins against OU and TCU, and he was looking at a high draft pick stock, but now with defenses adjusting to him and Breece Hall, his stock definitely has lowered a bit. But let's pump the brakes here. This year, in itself. He's had the best completion percentage and touchdown to interception ratio. So, I think it's a down year overall, but I see Brock Purdy still being drafted at the end of it.
Well, Brock Purdy, we're rooting for you. Lots of pressure was placed on Iowa State after Breece Hall kept talking about their 5-star culture. But the Cyclones failed to meet CFO expectations, losing 3 games to Iowa, Baylor, and West Virginia. Is this 5-star culture diminishing if they lose to Texas? Harrison?
I don't think so. I'm a big fan of Coach Matt Campbell. Everything he's done for the program and the way he's developed his recruits. Like, player development is a huge part of his identity and the team's core, honestly. But one thing that they do have to do to not diminish their culture, they have to beat Iowa. Their streak against Iowa, losing to them is not good for their team or for their fan base. But that's all I can say. They do have a 5-star culture, and I'm a big fan of Iowa State's program.
Yeah, well, right here, Harrison is claiming that Iowa State, you want to be a 5-star culture, you got to beat Iowa.
Got to.
I agree, because honestly, if you put like Iowa State's fans out of the picture, who really knows Iowa State? Who really knows them? So Iowa State really needs to step up, and I feel like they really only shine when they play with Texas and Oklahoma. And so when they leave for the SEC, what is Iowa State gonna be?
The leader, hopefully.
Right.
Big 12.
You can hope. I honestly didn't think Iowa State had a 5-star culture to begin with. Part of the reason, like Edly said, part of the reason they are relevant is because they're playing teams like Texas and Oklahoma. And once Texas and Oklahoma leave to the SEC, I think they will become less relevant. A win or a loss this weekend will not diminish that culture too much. But if they really want to step up their game, they're going to really need to know how to beat Iowa and, keep that streak from not going.
Yeah, well, a big game on the line for both teams that could determine the fate of those programs. When we come back, college football rankings are out, and everyone's happy, right? No. Find out next why on College Countdown. Texas Countdown. Welcome back to Texas Countdown. The college football rankings came out, and well, they sparked some controversy. What were y'all reactions? Harrison?
Well, my instant reaction is that the committee is doing committee things. Cincinnati should be in the top 4 despite its recent close game performances, but it's a deserving team that is fighting an uphill battle right now. Let's say Alabama wins and takes home the SEC and Oregon holds on to the Pac-12. Cincinnati will be on the outside looking in. But after being in the top 4 of the AP poll all season, I'm honestly really shocked and disappointed about the latest college football rankings.
Yeah. Cece?
I'm going to have to agree with him. I believe that the committee is once again being SEC biased and treating one-loss teams like just not equal. You're not treating the teams the same. Alabama is still towards the top at number 2 over a Michigan State team that is undefeated with large margin wins, and even after Alabama lost to an unranked Texas A&M. If another conference were to have the same type of loss, if another team from another conference were to have that same type of loss, they would be ranked way lower. Right. No doubt.
I have to agree with Cece. There's still SEC bias, but that's not going to change. But, I mean, Cincinnati should be up there. They should be more up there, and I believe they would get up there by the end of the season.
Well, an SEC bias is why Texas and Oklahoma are moving. 2 teams that are undefeated but are not in the top 4 are, we've already discussed, Cincinnati and Oklahoma. Why are they not there? Edly?
I think, again, it's SEC bias, but I do believe Cincinnati has a chance of going 12-0. But Oklahoma, they have Baylor in their next coming weeks. I believe they're going to get a loss there. I don't think they're going to make top 4, but Cincinnati has like a 50-50 shot being top 4.
Cece?
I believe, I'm not surprised with it, honestly, but I do not agree with the Cincinnati ranking, obviously. Cincinnati's been a dominant team this year, and they've clearly proven that through their wins, but are being snubbed because of their conference and schedule. Obviously, Oklahoma, on the other hand, I think they deserve to be where they are, honestly. They are the weakest undefeated team this year. They are only squeaking by playing very good at the very end, but if you look at their playing during all their games, weakest team there is. Just a few weeks ago, they almost lost to Kansas. There would have been a party in Lawrence over there, but that 8-0 record is a not clear representation of their playing this year.
Ugly wins for Oklahoma, but wins nonetheless. Harrison?
They are wins nonetheless, but I don't think the committee's buying it. It's exactly right. I think Cincinnati's low because of its schedule and because of its being a non-Power 5 team. And Oklahoma's low because they're just not a top 4 team. With close games against Texas, Kansas, and many others, and their quarterback dilemma, frankly, I just don't think Oklahoma has what it takes or is capable of being a top 4 team.
Well, I can tell you that Texas fans will be happy if Oklahoma stays out of the top 4. Another team that no one expected was Oregon. So how do y'all think they made it in?
I'm actually really surprised with Oregon's ranking, especially that high up, with a loss to an unranked Stanford and a almost close loss to an unranked UCLA. I just don't think that this football team deserves to be in the top 4, honestly. They have a good football team, just not a top 4 contender.
Yeah, Edly?
I mean, Oregon, they did play with UCLA and Stanford's, and they barely beat those teams. But I mean, they're a good football team. They're always consistent, but they're just not top 4. I don't believe they're top 4. I think it was just like probably maybe the offense. The offense always pull it off for them, but their defense is a little wanky.
All right, Harrison?
After losing to Stanford, Oregon has rattled off 3 in a row. Combine that with a win on the road against Ohio State. I like Oregon being in the top 4, especially if they take home the Pac-12.
All right, well, y'all heard it here. College football playoffs rankings. Some agree that Oregon should be in it. Others, I would argue, would replace them with Cincinnati. But, we are not the committee. Really quickly, who is the team that y'all believe will rise to the top 4 by the end of the year? Harrison?
Well, I think if Alabama loses in the SEC championship to Georgia, they'll be out. And so I like Cincinnati or Ohio State taking their spot.
Okay, we have not talked about Ohio State yet. Cece?
I'm going to have to agree with him there. Obviously, Alabama has a tough schedule up ahead with Georgia and could possibly knock themselves out along with Oregon. So if the 2 teams that I think are going to get in by the end of the season is going to be Cincinnati and Ohio State.
I agree with both of them. Alabama's schedule is looking very, very tough. And I mean, Cincinnati, I believe Cincinnati is going to move up and Oklahoma's just not going to be there. Sorry.
Well, if a 2-loss Alabama makes it into the top 4, now everybody knows that the college football playoffs are a little bit biased. Just a little bit. When we come back, let's put our trivia to the test. Coming up on Texas Countdown. Welcome back to Texas Countdown. It is time for our trivia block, and TSTV has a huge budget, so for these awards we are giving out Hostess cupcakes. So if you get a question right, you get a cupcake, and you get a cupcake, and everyone gets a cupcake. I get to play Oprah today. So are we ready for the questions?
For sure, let's do it.
Let's do it.
So first question is, who is the all-time leading rusher for Texas? First one to answer.
Ricky Williams.
Yes!
All right, nice.
You
I'm a little nervous there. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you to Clark.
Texas all-time leading tackler.
Okay.
Okay.
These questions are written by me also. Wink, wink.
Gosh, I don't even know.
Yeah.
Defense?
Oh man, this is embarrassing.
All right, so I get a cupcake. The answer is Britt Hager.
Oh man, okay, that's a good one.
Ooh, that was good. That was good.
Okay, y'all should get this one. Which schools have the most Heismans? If you get one of them, you have to get 2 of the 3 right.
Alabama.
No.
Wow.
Oklahoma
Yes.
and
Florida?
no. No, I'm gonna say
It's not USC, right?
yeah. No, it's not USC. No. Oh, goodness.
We briefly talked about this school earlier.
Ohio State.
Golly.
Okay, and if anyone can name the third one, then you get the cupcake.
Okay, Oklahoma, Ohio State, and
Luck of the Irish.
Notre Dame.
Notre Dame.
There you go. Cece, you get a cupcake.
Thank you,
Okay.
Clark.
Halfway gone. 3 more questions. We'll open this when the mic is off. True or false? Kevin Durant was the #1 pick in the 2007 NBA draft.
False.
False.
Harrison got it first.
Second overall.
But, yep. Okay, true or false? In 2003, both Texas men's and women's basketball team made it to the Final Four.
I'm gonna say true.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
say false.
Yeah, I'm gonna say true. It's 50-50 shot.
Yeah,
True.
it's 50 shots at that
I'm like,
point.
these are the easy ones.
Yeah.
You either get it right or wrong.
That's true.
This one might be the hardest one.
Okay.
So whoever gets this gets 2 cupcakes. When was the last time a Texas basketball team had a perfect season?
Oh. Huh.
And which team was it?
Let's see.
Oh, I know it was a women's team,
Okay, halfway there.
and it was, yeah.
Yellow.
But I don't know the year.
Any year.
2000.
Nope.
1992.
Nope.
95.
2003.
The 1986 women's basketball team.
I've seen it in
I
the rafters.
know.
Yeah.
Everyone should have known it.
Yeah.
Okay, well, you're gonna get a cupcake anyway because I can't eat 2. So everyone got a cupcake today! Yay! When we come back, Chris Beard makes his debut on the 40 acres as basketball season draws near. All coming up on Texas Countdown. Welcome back to Texas Countdown. It's time to discuss Texas basketball. With Chris Beard coming to Texas with a Final Four appearance under his belt and a Texas team loaded with talent, does this team have the makings to go all the way? Cece?
Well, I think Chris Beard is coming to a program that has a great bunch of players like Timmy Allen, Andrew Jones, and Brock Cunningham, eager to get even further in the tournament this year than they did last year. Obviously, there shouldn't be an expectation for a national title. Texas fans tend to do that. But at least a great season. If Beard can keep improving this team and get this team more appearances in the tournament in March, I think he's doing a fantastic job.
Well, as the new coach, you're coming into a really good system. And I mean, the young talent, great chemistry, and all he needs to do is try to get them into the March tournament and get them into the Final Four.
I think the minimum expectation for Chris Beard's basketball team is an Elite Eight appearance. Texas basketball is loaded with talent, as you said. Their preseason AP rank is 5. They have Timmy Allen, Trey Mitchell, Marcus Carr, and returning players like Andrew Jones and Courtney Ramey. I like Texas basketball going far this season and competing for the Big 12 championship, but time will tell how they'll solve their chemistry issues. You know, all these guys are stars. They're all transfers, and they were stars on their previous teams. And so, how are they going to deal with their new roles? We'll see.
We'll see. Chemistry is everything for a basketball team. Yep. Now, Texas had a very good season last year, winning the Big 12 championship, but lost very quickly in March Madness. But however, with the expectations set for Texas, do we think that this team can win the regular and postseason tournament for the Big 12? Harrison?
I think it's a lofty goal. I think Texas fans want to. But first, Texas needs to have a better fan base at home for that to happen. I think home court advantage is a huge deal in the Big 12, especially when you go to places like Kansas or West Virginia. But just to answer your question, I think there's a chance, but I like Kansas or Baylor taking home the Big 12 tournament.
Well, Frank Irwin, we're almost going to say Texas is almost going to say goodbye, so the Moody Center needs to be packed, giving Texas that home court advantage.
That's true.
Cici?
I think they're doing great in preseason so far. I have no doubt that this team could be great under the leadership of Chris Beard, and no doubt will do great in this season. However, I think there's a lot of competition in the Big 12, so it's a very hefty goal for winning it all. But I will say it's not impossible, but we'll see how the season pans out.
Edly?
It's really not far-fetched that they have really like a tough competition, Baylor, Kansas. I mean, under his leadership, I think they can make the postseason, but it's going to take time for them to go all the way to the Final Four.
I agree. Well, the Big 12 is loaded with talent this year. Who do we think will be Texas's biggest threat? Edly?
It's going to be Kansas and it's going to be Baylor. Kansas is coming back they want that #1 spot again, and Baylor wants a repeat. So Texas, these are the best of the best. Texas have to pull these upsets to prove themselves to these big threats in the Big 12.
Cici?
I'm going to have to agree with Edly here. Honestly, basketball powerhouse in Kansas, and they have Christian Braun, Remy Martin, and Ochai Agbaji. Then, of course, the reigning national championship in the Baylor Bears. They got a team stacked up with Matthew Mayer, James Akingjo. Obviously, it's going to be a hard time for Texas to compete, but if they can compete and pull those upsets, I think that they are on track for a good season.
Right, just like you said, I think Kansas and Baylor obviously have to be the two biggest contenders for Texas, and especially in the Big 12. But I like the Big 12 is a very competitive field, so we honestly have no idea. But Baylor is looking to repeat national championships, but Kansas also is trying to go back to #1. And shout out KJ Adams, the new addition for their team as well. So long story short, you have to go with Kansas or Baylor.
Okay, well, Texas basketball, you've got your work cut out for you. Said here on Texas Countdown. With so many good teams this year in the Big 12, are they the best conference in college basketball? Cici?
Well, I mean, we've had Big 12 has had a great, past few seasons in college basketball. Obviously last year, Baylor Bear, years ago, sending Texas Tech to the Final Four. But I wouldn't say it's a powerhouse conference or take the crown of like the best conference in college basketball yet. I think there's a few more years, time will tell, but obviously the ACC stacked up with teams like Duke, UNC, Virginia, those dynasty teams that have had years of, great seasons and great players. And obviously they still deserve that crown. I don't think the Big 12 can take that crown yet.
Well, they're coming for it. Harrison?
I totally agree. The ACC is really deep, especially in recent years and in the history of college basketball. It's something that the Big 12 honestly lacks. But as of right now, I think the Big 12 and Pac-12 are really stacked conferences. I give the edge to the Big 12 because they have the reigning champs in Baylor.
I agree with both of them. There's still ACC with Duke and Virginia, and it's just like those are just the powerhouses. Like they built their dynasty and everything. But honestly, I feel like give the Big 12 at least 3 more years. I think if they can keep proving themselves for 3 more years, this will be like a hot topic for later in the coming years. So I feel like if they keep going with these teams like Baylor, Texas Tech, or even Texas, I believe that this can be like a hot debate is ACC and Big 12, which one's better?
Texas Countdown 2025. Y'all better be writing this down because this is going to be y'all's debate, is ACC versus Big 12. Speaking of powerhouses, Kentucky is supposed to be one of the best programs in college basketball, but that wasn't the case last year when they missed out on the tournament. Do y'all think they're going to bounce back this year? Edly?
I think they might go on the revenge tour. I mean,
Taylor
like,
Swift action.
their coach is on the hot seat. You know, they have this reputation to go after. So I think they're really going to come in and kill all these teams. Not literally, but really going to dominate all these teams. I feel like they're really going to come in and prove themselves again.
Yeah, Cece?
I still think they're in a rebuilding season with the transfer portal more evident and a lot of their players coming to Texas, actually. It's hard to say what this season will be like. With the establishment of the NIL also, I don't know if they can compete as a team that can get players to Kentucky. Obviously, they have a dynasty, but while that's in action, we'll see if players want to go there, and we'll see how the season pans out for them.
NIL is shaking things up. Harrison?
Yeah, that's a great point. I do worry sometimes about the NIL and future recruits going to smaller schools like Kentucky. But even though Kentucky is a small school, they have Coach Calipari, they have their dynasty, and uncharacteristically, they had a bad year last year. So I do look for them to go on the revenge tour and bounce back this year.
Well, Kentucky's on the revenge tour. It's going to be an interesting one to watch. A lot of people throw around the word icon. Nick Saban could be considered an icon in college football, but Coach K is really one. So knowing that it's his last year makes it somewhat unbelievable. What are the impacts of his legacy? Harrison?
He leaves college basketball with a big legacy. He's had 5 national championships and 12 Final Four appearances in his career at Duke. He's even coached a legendary team in Team USA, and he was the only coach that actually even stuck it to LeBron James and talked to him man to man. So I like this coach a lot, obviously, for a variety of reasons, but he does leave college basketball with a huge legacy.
Yes, Coach K is one of a kind, Cece.
The word that comes to mind is legendary. This is an end of an era. You can't imagine Duke without Coach K. He's built this program, produced superstars left and right, and his legacy will live on for future generations. They're going to have a lot of pressure this year to do well in his last year, and I think Duke will do that and do whatever they can to win for Coach K in his last season. It's going to be interesting to see who fills those shoes next year, because those are going to be big shoes to fill.
That is an understatement.
If a lifetime had to be a person, it's Coach K and his career. This man has been here since 1980. That's really a long time. That's really a lifetime. That's 44 years. So Duke is it's kind of like a funeral. It's like a funeral when he's leaving. Without him, Duke feels dead. So whoever comes after him, they have acres to fill up.
They do. Duke is heading in the morning. Coach K is leaving, and Duke, time will tell if they can recover. And I personally cannot imagine Duke without Coach K. And when we come back on Texas Countdown, it's time for our picks. For the last time today, I'll say welcome back to Texas Countdown. It is time for our picks. So I'm just going to roll them off. Y'all tell me who y'all pick. Michigan State at Purdue.
Michigan State, their defense is just on fire right now. They're on a roll. It's going to be them.
Okay. Michigan State's on a roll. Last weekend, huge win against Michigan. I'm going Michigan State, 35-10.
Oh,
wow.
She gave a score.
I got Michigan State as well. They have Kenneth Walker. They're coming off a huge win against Michigan. I like them by a touchdown.
Okay. Wake Forest at UNC.
UNC will win this game. They are due. Coach Mac Brown and Sam Howell, I see them coming up with a huge win this season, salvaging their season this year.
Wake Forest is my underdog. I'm going to take Wake Forest. I just like how they're rolling, and I think they're going to be the underdogs, and I have them in a tight game, probably by 3.
Okay.
I love Mac Brown, but Wake Forest just made school history last week, ranking in the top 10 for the first time, staying undefeated in the ACC. Demon Deacons are winning this one in Chapel Hill, 42-21.
I love a good underdog. Auburn at Texas A&M.
This is not going to be an easy one for Auburn, playing in that hostile environment in Kyle Field. I think it's going to come down to the last drive. I'm going Auburn with the upset in College Station, 48-42. Sorry, Mom.
Sorry, Grandma. This is my pick too. Harrison?
I've got A&M actually. They're going to win by a wider margin than Vegas thinks. Kyle Field is a very tough and hostile place. I like A&M.
Kyle Field can take down Alabama.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm going to take A&M. Kyle Field, shoot. That's a war zone. So I'm going to take Texas A&M.
Okay. Here's a big one. Texas at Iowa State. Who wants to pick first?
Unfortunately, I gotta say Iowa State's gonna win this one. Texas had a long and tough week with all the drama coming out, but they're also, they lost 3 straight. It doesn't know if if they still have the spirit. So I've got Iowa State on this one.
Harrison, a bad October means a good November.
I mean, yeah, but I don't know.
I just made that up, but I believe it.
This is going to be like tug and war. They're going to be back to back. This is really the battle of the underdogs. Whoever wins it, really. They both have like a lot to prove because they're both teams are in the hot seat, but I got Texas by 3.
Wow, that would not shock anyone. No one's surprised.
Texas going over their 3 consecutive losses. Going to be who wants it more. I got Texas winning this one, 21-17. Close 3-point game.
Wouldn't it be a game if Texas lost the first 3 quarters and then won the 4th? That would be a game and ended up winning. Wow. Maybe November is just, we're flipping it around. All right, Kansas, Michigan State.
Although Michigan State is capable of pulling the underdog upset, Kansas will start guns a-blazing. Kansas wins.
Okay.
This is coming up. I'm going to just walk in and demolish them. I feel like Kansas, even though, yes, Michigan State is the underdog, Kansas is going to dominate them.
I think, there's been talk about preseason commotion and issues with Kansas, but Coach Self will start the season off strong. I like Kansas on this one.
I did forget to mention, we just transitioned from football into basketball. That's why Michigan State was stated twice. The rest of these will be basketball. Kentucky Duke. Harrison?
I think Kentucky is showing up with something to prove after a down year. This will be a classic, but I have Duke in a nail-biter.
Okay.
Duke is going to do everything they can for Coach K. They have that chip on their shoulder. And yes, I did say Kentucky is going to go on the revenge tour, but it's going to be a tight game. But I'm going to pick Duke.
Okay. Going to be a tight game. Kentucky still an improvement season. Duke wanting to win for Coach K. It's going to be a Duke win by a large margin.
Okay, and with our last pick of the day, Texas and Houston Baptist. Edly?
I'm going to take Texas, but by like a 10-point difference. I feel like Texas, they're going to go on strong. They're going to do everything they can. So right now with the new coach and the stars they have on the team, I'm going to take Texas.
Okay, Cece?
Texas has started out strong, showing great potential this season. I'm going Texas for the win.
Unlike the Texas football team, I think people have a lot more trust in the basketball team. Texas wins easily in this game in front of a packed student section at the Drum.
Okay, well, great picks, everyone. Next week, if we're wrong, y'all can come at us in the comments. But follow us at TSTV Sports on Instagram and Twitter. Make sure you also tune into our sister shows, College Press Box on Mondays and College Crossfire, hosted by Drew Jacobs on Wednesdays, and the 1-0 Sports Show on Fridays. From everyone in studio and Master Control, thank you so much for watching Texas Countdown. I'm your host, Olivia Guzman.